Hey, this is Dave from Stencil. I'm going to show you how to take an SVG of a bridged stencil from Stencil and import it and use it in Sure Cuts a Lot. Now, when you receive a stencil from Stencil, you're going to get an email, and that email is going to talk about a download page, and it's going to have a link in it that says go to Stencil. So when you click on that, it opens up the page, and you see that you can download the file. And the file, when it opens, you're just going to it's going to open a zip file, and you might have to open it yourself. Keep in mind that I'm on a Mac and you might be on a PC, and these programs are constantly being updated, so what you see might be different from what I'm showing you a little bit. Just hang in there, and I bet you'll be on your way very soon. Okay, so I get the zip file here, and I see that there's a directory called SVG layers. I'm going to start with that one first. I want to try that one, and I'm going to take all of these SVG files and I'm going to upload them into Sure Cuts a Lot. And the way I do that is by importing. Let's see here if we can open. No, that's wrong. Import is what we want, so that's up here. And I'm going to import these one at a time. So in the first case, so I have SVG layers. I'm going to go ahead and get them all. And I open that one. Let's see. And what that shows me is I see this white layer here, basically. And actually, maybe I don't want the white layer, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that one out. And I'm going to open, import the next one, port 2. And I'm going to make sure that that's set aside here. And I also want to make sure that everything is grouped together. I don't want any elements moving on their own. Let's import one more time. The third layer. Okay, there's my red layer. Oh, it looks like I'm importing Spider-Man here. Good. And there's the darkest layer. Okay, so I've got 3 layers on my screen here. Let's see if we can line them up. The important thing to do is to line them up before you start to resize them, because probably this isn't the size that you want. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them right on top of each other so I can see Spider-Man, and then I'm going to take all those layers together. I'm going to move them together, and I'm going to resize them together because I want to see how big the final image is going to be. But I also want to make sure that every layer is going to fit on the cutting mat, because I can't cut this thing if it's bigger than the machine. So I've got it kind of inched over here. I've got it squished over to the corner, and then I'm gonna make it bigger. And I want to make sure not to stretch it, so I'm going to hold down the Shift key while I move it, or while I scale it. And when I've got it scaled to the right place, I'm going to release. And that's got this thing fitting on a 12-inch width, and that's what I want. So I'm going to, at that point, I've got everything looking the way I want it to look, and I can move these pieces individually again. And if what I want to cut is one at a time, then I can just inch this one up. I can take just this blue one, and without resizing it or scaling it, I can move it up to the top of the mat, and I can go ahead and click Cutter. And I think you probably know what to do from there. Before we go, though, I'd like to show you one more thing. I'd like to show you what you can do if you want to, if for some reason you want to print or cut these files with their registration marks. So I'm going to delete these that we've just uploaded, and I'm going to show you one more thing about importing those other files. Instead of going into SVG layers, if I go into this BS files, Base Stencil files, and I see 4.1 BS bridged, 4.1 BS bridges. I want the bridged files, just like I was getting back in the SVG layers. I want the bridged files with a D. And I want to take 1, 2, I'm going to take this one first. I'm going to take 4.2 first. And as soon as I get it there, I might notice something, that when I move this, I moved this part. I moved the colored parts, but I didn't move the registration marks. You see how they move independently of one another? That's because when Sure Cuts a Lot imported this file, it didn't group these things together. So what I need to group them together is, you can't see it, but on the menu up here, I'm choosing Object and then Group. And what that does is it causes all these things to move together so that the registration marks have to move with the cut outline. Otherwise, the registration marks don't do you any good at all. So I've got those things are moved together. They're grouped together. So this, I grouped it as soon as I imported it. I'm going to do again the same thing for this, the third and the fourth layers. There's this one, and as soon as it shows up here, I'm just going to choose from the Object menu. I'm going to choose Object menu. I'm going to come down and click Group, and that's going to cause all this stuff to move together. So I've got my red layer. Finally, I'll do one more. I'll do that dark blue layer again. And as soon as it comes in, I'm going to choose from the menu Object Group, which is also Control or Command G. And so now I have the three files together. Notice that they're a little bit wider this time for some reason. I'm not sure why. But again, I'm going to line them up. I'm going to line up the dark blue, the red, and the lighter blue, and I'm going to say, okay, what thing is going to fit on my actual cutter? So notice that I've got three panels here that all had to be grouped together individually, and now I've got them on top of each other, and once again I want to move them and size them together, so I'm going to select all of them. Notice that the select tool, this arrow tool, is chosen. So I select all of them, and when I've selected all of them, then whenever I move or resize, whenever I move or resize them, they should be doing the exact same thing. So I need to make sure everything is selected, and then when I move it, everything comes together. Notice everything is coming together. So now I'm going to place it in the upper left-hand corner, and I'm going to resize it. This time, I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to hold down Shift and make it smaller until this image and all of its registration marks fit in the cutting space. Okay. See, they're not yet fitting in the cutting space because the registration marks are kind of hanging off the edge. Let me just make it a little bit, make it a little bit smaller. And then the registration marks will also fit in the cutting space. Nudge it over a little bit. There we go. And now I'm ready to cut. You see I've got the registration marks that are fitting in the cutting area, and all the cut shapes are also fitting in the cutting area. One thing I hope you noticed is that I never actually opened this SVG on my computer. Like all the times that I was in this directory over here looking at 4.1bridge.svg, I never took that thing and said open. I never tried to open it with Illustrator or GIMP or Inkscape or any of those things. I just uploaded it to Sure Cuts a Lot, and I'm doing all my editing inside Sure Cuts a Lot. Chances are you don't have a very good editor on your computer for an SVG, but you don't ever need one. You don't need to edit those files or even open those files. All you need to do is download them from Base Stencil and upload them to Sure Cuts a Lot. I hope that helps, and this is Dave signing off from Base Stencil.